various browser-specific methods, I suppose really browser vulnerabilities, that prevent a site from frame busting. In Firefox, we can actually disable JavaScript in an iframe. So any site that uses JavaScript to protect itself from JavaScript, uses JavaScript to protect itself from clickjacking, that will fail in this case. The other thing you can do in Firefox is you can, in an iframe, you can load up a page and put view source in front of the URL. That will give you the same thing as what happened as when you view the source of a page, only it's inside an iframe. So we could use the content extraction method to get at that. In Internet Explorer, you can actually load up a site in design mode. What that means is we can put an iframe into editable mode, so any HTML that's in there you can edit. And then we can load another site in there, and the iframe will still be in design mode. So although you can't interact with the site, all the JavaScript will be disabled, so any clickjacking protection won't work. And although you can't submit forms, again, we could use content extraction to get at that data. So at the moment, not many sites have implemented clickjacking protection, although a lot of the high-profile sites that have suffered clickjacking attacks have actually put in some protection. Unfortunately, most of those sites are still vulnerable in one way or another. Many of the large sites have mobile versions of the main site. So, for example, Twitter has a mobile site, and it doesn't share the same code, so it doesn't have the same clickjacking protection that perhaps the main site does. And also, various sites have widgets or gadgets, and these are things that can be included in frames. So, for example, on the Google has a page that lets you have various widgets on your homepage and so on. Now, each of those are in an iframe, so they can't actually use clickjacking protection. They can't prevent themselves from being framed, so they're vulnerable. So this is Twitter. They've got two mobile sites. Neither of them have clickjacking protection. This is Facebook. Again, no protection on there, although I think they have now included protection there. And this is the Gmail gadget, which I showed you earlier. Again, this doesn't protect itself from being framed. For pen testers, if you're testing sites, you want to check if a site has put in clickjacking protection. You basically need to see if you can include it in an iframe. Now, CAT is a manual penetration testing tool that Context has released, and the latest version of that is being released today. It's available from my website. And one of the new features is that you can check to see if a particular page allows itself to be framed. So I'll just show you that quickly. This is the tool. And so this is a page. Again, it's offline. And we want to check if it's implemented clickjacking protection. So I've now set up the browser so that any requests will go through the tool. Yep, that's appeared there. So then we can take a particular request and open this up. And here we can see the framed version and non-framed version, and we can see that something's happening here to prevent clickjacking. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the clickjacking tool that I've made, and it lets you take all the methods that I've shown you and try them out, see how they work. It's browser-based, and at the moment it works best in Firefox. I'll be updating it soon so that it works properly in other browsers. As I said, all the techniques that I've shown you work in every browser, but at the moment there's various little issues in the tool that prevent it from working completely well. So I'll just show you how it works in Firefox. So this is the clickjacking tool. In this area here, we have a site, and we can load any site into here. And it actually has an overlay so that we can move it around without interacting with the site. Along the side here, we have various tools, and I'll show you how these can be used. So again, we'll use this site that I showed you earlier and see how we can use the tool on this site to do various things. So first of all, I'm going to use the load URL tool to load that page into this frame. Now what we want to do is get the user to enter some text into this text field and then click the update button. So first of all, I use the enter text tool and I'll drag this onto the text field. So this is where I want, this is the first target. And this is the text I want to enter. So this will use the Java drag and drop technique I showed you earlier. Second thing we want to do is click on the update button. There we go. And now we can replay this. So there's two ways we can replay it. First of all, there's a visible replay. So we've got the iframe, the targets following the mouse cursor, but we can actually see what's going on here. So we can see how this works. This is really useful if you, to get an idea of how these techniques work, so you can see what's going on in the background. So first of all, I click, then I click again, and there we go. That's put in there. We can also, let's put some different text in. We can also do an invisible replay, and so this is a bit more like what's happening in a real attack. Obviously, here we've got a blank page here. Wherever we click, it will actually still be clicking on those targets. In a real attack, obviously there'll be something to interact with here, so there'll be some sort of game or whatever. So again, click, click, and there we go, that's entered there. So I mentioned before about using fragment positioning. Now that can be useful if the content on a page is moving around and the targets are moving around. So I've got another version of this page that has this banner that appears and disappears randomly. So using the current targets are positioned just using pixels. So if we play this here, yeah, so that hasn't worked because this moved and we didn't know that was going to happen. So what we can do is use the IDs on the page, as I mentioned before. I'll just quickly show you the source of this page. So we can see here, this is the status field. So this has an ID of status, and we have the update button here that has an ID of update. So we can use a fragment positioning method to target those. So this tool makes it fairly easy to do that. We don't have to look at the source of the page. We can actually use this Get Fragments button here. So when I click that button, it removed the overlay, and I'll have to manually just select all and then drag this onto this little white square here. So yeah, you can see that there. It's detected all the IDs and the positions of the IDs on that page. So we've got the status here, we've got update, we've got the add one here, and we've got a footer down here. So I can say, okay, I want to use relative positioning to target these. So first of all, click on this status field, and I've got a marker here which I can drag. So this is saying I want to click at these coordinates relative to the position of the status field. And again, with the update button, I want to click at this position relative to the update button. So now if I replay this, oops, I didn't actually enter any text here. So I replay this, and the banner was there, and that worked. And again, if I replay it without the banner, it will still work. So although the page is moving around, you can still do accurate positioning. The final thing I'm going to show you with this tool is extracting the content. Now, I went over the technique earlier. I didn't show you any demo.